Hey, Doug Walker here. I just saw a horror movie this weekend, not The Mummy, like many of you didn't see, but I've been hearing a lot of good buzz about this movie called It Comes at Night, and, reviews are really good. It's like at 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a lot of people I know saw it and liked it. And I saw one review by Joe Vargas. I didn't watch it yet, but just on the description, it just said, save your money, don't go see it, complete waste of time, oh my god. And that raised a little question mark over my head, because this is getting like really, really good reviews. But I'm interested in new horror films. I like it when a horror film is done really well, because it's very hard to scare me, and I think it's a very interesting... I don't know. It's kind of like good comedy. It's all susceptible, so I love the different styles and everything. So we got this movie, and one of the reasons I'm doing this, because this probably isn't going to be a huge hit or anything, but I just want other people's feedback on this, because there's just something about movies that have the word "it" in the title. Horror movies about it, that I just can't get into. I couldn't get into It. I couldn't get into It Follows, and I couldn't get into this. And I'm really wondering if I'm missing something on this one. And I won't go into spoilers yet. I'll give you a brief description of it and what I thought and everything. And then I'll it's hard to talk about the pros and the cons of it without going into spoilers. But here's the spoiler-free version first. Pretty much it's... it looks like our time, our world, or if not, the not too distant future. And this family lives middle of nowhere. Some sort of terrible disease has taken over, and people are dying. It's just Walking Dead without the Walking Dead. I'm just saying it right here. That's really all it is, which is one of the problems, but that gives you an idea that there's something where if you breathe this or whatever, your eyes go black, you get all this crap on you, and you die. Or your organs spill out, or something, It's not even entirely clear what it does. But you die. And they gotta burn the body, they have to bury you far, far away, you gotta wear gas masks all the time and stuff. So, family comes across this person, or this person comes across him, I should say, breaks into the house. Don't know if it's a friend or a foe. I should probably stop there the more I think about it, because part of the movie is, I think, kind of the suspense and the surprise and who do you trust and stuff like that. So I'll stop there, and that's very early on in the movie. But it's kind of what you think it's going to be in a Walking Dead without Walking Dead movie. It's a survival piece, and who do you trust? Who's the real monster? That kind of stuff. Stuff you kind of expect. And that's all I got. I got exactly what I would expect out of this, except I'll be honest, I was expecting a few surprises. I was expecting, a few more creepy scenes out of it, and I didn't. I got pretty much what most zombie movies are, with the people fighting among each other and trying to figure out, should I trust this person? Should I not? Should I kill this person? Should I not? Friend or foe? Except there's no real zombies in it. There's some bad dreams that can be a little creepy, and good acting and good pacing and stuff like that. But this didn't really grab me that much, because even the characters are not bad and the actors are not bad, but it's not really told in a way that's like, maybe because there are no real super surprises in it. I mean, I know I'm not saying much. That's one of the reasons I'm not saying that much, because it's like, okay, well, what few there are, I should, leave that. But it just kind of seems like you're watching these people, try to get along, and then, should we get along? And then, things, of course, fall apart. I mean, you can kind of tell that pretty early on. And then that's it. It just kind of stops. And like I said, I kind of, because this movie's getting really good reviews, I haven't really read any of the reviews. And I'm kind of curious what other people's feedback is, because there were a couple people in the theater, and, nobody was booing or anything like that, but when it ended, they're just like, okay. I didn't even know what to think. And I was trying to think, there's a movie called, I think it was called Buried. And you probably heard, this is a film of a guy that's buried underground, and it's all told from that point of view, just him in the box. And I was thinking, why did I like that more than this? Because it's, when you get to the end, it's kind of a similar idea. And I read it felt like there was a little bit more commentary with that idea. It was a little bit more of a unique twist, just having it in the box and everything, but you still got this idea of the world outside, with him making these calls. And there's good commentary on, like, the media. There's good commentary on, like, businesses and such, and political and everything, like trying to distance themselves from him, as sort of the terrorist side. And plus just the simplicity of him. There's a snake that, like, gets in the box and everything, and it's him trying to fight off the snake and everything, and will people get there in time? And I felt like that was such an interesting new kind of idea, but it really is just another survival flick. And I'm thinking, this is a survival flick too, and just I felt like nothing really that new was added. If anything, it felt like a lot was taken away. And the only thing I can figure is that maybe the idea is that by taking those elements away, kind of like, the zombies and the chase, and stuff like that, and only focusing on the people, maybe it's just somebody wanted to see a film where it's like, well, I really want a film about the people that's not about the zombies, even though those films are really about the people. It's never about the zombies. So I feel like that's already being done. It's just now we don't have the zombies. So the only other thing I could figure is that, because there's two interesting things happening in this movie when I was watching it. One is that everything is kind of has this impending doom about it. And again, without giving too much away, I mean, that's a lot of movies have that, but this one especially kind of has this impending doom aspect. So maybe that's kind of the idea. It's just watching, people sort of in this inevitable situation and what they do, maybe, but I just feel like that's not that interesting, or not as interesting as it could be. And maybe that's because, like, even the people, I didn't know a ton about them before this all happened. I mean, if there was a contrast, maybe we could see what they were like beforehand, even like, shows like Lost and even Walking Dead or like Orange is the New Black, and all these are shows, they show their lives beforehand. They'll cut back because that creates such a big contrast. And it's like, wow, how did we get to this point? And that wasn't really here. They talk a hint about it, but not that much. So I never really, even though these actors are good, I never really felt like I really got to know these people. The father a little bit, maybe, because he's the yeller, he's the screamer, he's the super paranoid. Everyone else, I'm kind of thinking like, yeah, they're just kind of generic people. And they're acting very well, but I couldn't look at the mother and be like, okay, let me tell you all about her. I couldn't do it. I couldn't look at the son and be like, let me tell you all about him. He likes his dog. I know that. But yeah, so that's kind of a thing with this movie. So even from that angle of just watching something really just bad happen, and human nature and human condition, the human animal and everything, isn't that interesting? Because I didn't find them super interesting. And the other thing I was going to say, the second interesting thing, is that maybe this was just my screening, but the, okay, so this is wide angle that you're looking at right now. And depending on the framing in a movie and the framing of the screen and everything, it either fills the full screen or you got these two black bars on top, that depending on the way it's shot. Well, the movie starts out entirely filled like this, like your screen is right now. But then as it keeps going, these black bars, like in one cut, will suddenly be like a little bit. You'll sort of see like these black bars there. Okay, that's interesting. And then after another cut, they'll be a little closer throughout the rest of the movie. Okay. And then near the end, it's like this much. There's like this much black bar in there. And again, the only thing I could draw from that is just impending doom. Things getting more claustrophobic, I guess. And I just didn't find it that interesting. So okay, so that's the spoiler-free version. the bottom line, I couldn't get into it. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm not saying it's awful, I'm saying I really couldn't get into it. I didn't entirely see the point. I felt like it was one of these survival films with a good chunk of the exciting elements taken out, no real twists and turns, and then all the other exciting stuff we've seen a million times. So that's my initial thought. And I love to know what you think, if you go and see it. Okay, now into spoiler territory. Pretty much this thing, this disease or whatever, it infects the little boy in this. There's a boy and there's a little boy. And little boy touches the bigger boy, because he's like walking around or something. We don't even know. He's like, does he sleepwalk? No. So that's never revealed. And there's also these two guys that try to jump them later. We never find out who they are. And so eventually you figure out the little boy is infected and then the boy is infected and everyone's in the same room. So they're all going to be infected. I mean, we kind of know this, but they decide to split apart. And even the boy, the teenage son, is like, dude, you don't get it. If he's got it, I got it too. But they're like, no, we gotta throw them out and we gotta kill them and we gotta yada, yada, yada. And it's like, but it's already too late. Why not everybody band together and just be like, you know what, let's just enjoy these last few moments, these last few days, because we know we're all gonna die. But no, they get in this big fight and they're trying to shoot each other and they're not really talking. In fact, one family's gonna leave. It's like, just let them leave. And they're like, no, they might come back and steal our food. But it's like they're already dead. And everyone knows they're gonna die, but they have this big thing where they're shooting each other and like that kid gets shot and then the wife gets shot. It's super dramatic and super savage and everything, but it's like you already know they're all dead. And maybe that's supposed to be the commentary. It's like, even if you know you're gonna die, I mean, you do everything you can to hold on and you get delusional. Maybe that's the idea. I'm not sure, but that was the biggest thing that was bothering me, because I'm trying to watch this thinking, is there any way that they all could not be infected? And at the end, it's pretty much saying no, that they all have to be infected because they all took off the masks at some point. They're all in the same room at some point. And some things aren't answered, which I thought maybe was supposed to be open. Like, you never see if the boy's face is actually, turning into his thing or his eyes going black. And the father's like, keep your eyes closed. Okay, so that's indicating he has it. But then it's like, hey, take that mask off. Nobody's sick here. Okay, so he thinks he doesn't have it. But then later, the teenage boy starts vomiting up and he gets the stuff and he dies and stuff. So it's like, okay, well, they did have it then. So even sort of that open option that did they have it or did they not? It's like, no, they have it. Like, even that's answered. So you can't even have kind of that vagueness in there of trying to discover. So yeah, there's sort of, and I'm just waiting for like some sort of monster or something to come in, because the advertising keeps this kind of vague, and it never does. It's just a disease. It's 28 days later, just, except when you get the disease, you just die, apparently. Or maybe your guts explode because the dog's guts explode at some point. And I just don't find that very interesting. I find that it was sort of with these supernatural stories of a disease or something that turns you into a monster or whatever, yeah, the commentary comes from what happens in this situation, but it's still coming from this exciting situation. It's a new twist on it, when they created zombies or they created these monsters or these disease, even 28 days later, sort of these fast-running people. It's not technically zombies, but it's zombies. But, it's these people that can run very fast. You get a drop of the blood and that's it and stuff, and it's like, how do you react to that? So if all of these other movies didn't exist, I'd say this is brilliant. I'd say this is a wonderful, brilliant analysis of, the human animal and what they do in a life or death situation when everything's kind of closing in on them and stuff. But it's like, we've seen this a million times and with more interesting scenarios. So I just couldn't get into it. I couldn't follow why this was interesting. And it's not done horrible, and clearly a lot of other people are getting something out of it that I'm not getting. So I would love to know the people that saw it and really liked it, what you got out of it that I'm missing. If you want to just type in, it's great and you suck, like, Many YouTube comments do. Great, go ahead. But I'd really like to know, like, outside of what I said, the people that like this movie, and how did it make a connection with you? Well, what did it do that really grabbed you? Because this is doing very well on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's not a poorly made film. You know, I mean, it's got good atmosphere, and it's shot well, and the acting's good, but I mean, I did not get what was so special about it or what was new about it that I didn't see in a ton of other films like this. So, yeah, I love to know what you think. Again, just something about movies with the word "it" in it, too. It Follows, I had the same reaction. I was just like, okay, I was interested in what was going to go on, but it doesn't have a time period. Isn't that wow? I guess? I mean, there's all these things where it's like, well, it wasn't about that. Okay, well, what was it about? And then nobody ever tells me the answer. Or even films like, you know, kind of like Eraserhead or these David Lynch films and stuff where it's like, I can't tell you what that's about, you know, but there's something so uniquely strange and still engaging that sucks me in. But at the same time, I can see how someone, you know, wouldn't like it. You know, Punch Drunk Love, you know, a lot of Paul Anderson movies, you know, like the guy that did Boogie Nights and stuff. I really like his movies, even though I couldn't explain through a good chunk of them what they're about or why they exist, but I find them intriguing, and they, my screensaver's going on, you know, and I find them really interesting and engaging, and the people interesting, and I don't know where it's gonna go. Where with this one, as soon as it starts, if you were to ask me, where do you think it's gonna go? I would say where every movie like this goes. I'd be right, except they would take out, you know, the threat, the zombie, you know, the monster or whatever. So it's like, oh, it's even less than what I thought. So yeah, definitely let me know. To me, this didn't seem unique enough to really garner that much attention, but maybe you're seeing something I'm not seeing, and I actually would really like to know what people who enjoy this film enjoyed about it. So if you saw it and you liked it, leave it in the comments below. I'd definitely like to hear your opinions on it and why you got into it. You don't really need to explain if you didn't get into it. I mean, I understand, but yeah, I like to know. I like to actually hear your thoughts on it. So yeah, that's about it, and there's more stuff coming soon. Bye.